Hey, we're back. I'm Dr. Trish Leigh, and we are going to talk about alpha brain speed and what alpha performance in your home brain map would look like. What is assessed in your home brain map through Leigh Brain and Spine or drtrishleigh.com. So first of all, just to remind you what alpha is. Alpha is that medium brain speed. It's 10 hertz or cycles per second around, and it is that perfect speed in your brain to feel calm. So we're going to look at what's happening with that medium calm speed. And of course, this is the parameter that I scored a mere 66% on. So we're going to look at where this poor brain's inadequacies are, and I know that's a rough word, but where the areas of growth are. And that is how I think of it. So we're going to look at where the areas of growth are in my brain using it as an example. So you can see that this is in the posterior region back here at site 01, which is where we're measuring this alpha response at first. And just to read the description to you, a measure of the increase in alpha brainwave over the posterior brain region when closing the eyes. Normally, or typically, I like the word typically better, posterior alpha increases by 50% or more when closing the eyes. But the increase may be attenuated by stress. So what that means is that this brain bulb, as I like to call it, this brain bulb should be up here in this green region. The more that your alpha increases, especially in the posterior region when you close your eyes, the more your brain is recovering and relaxing and slowing down when you close your eyes, which is very healthy for your brain to get a break. And so when a person meditates, that is what they're achieving. Close your eyes, your alpha will increase and your brain will relax and it will get moments of calm. Now, unfortunately for people who are thinkers like myself, even though I consider myself to be incredibly stressed out per se, I definitely stress out my brain sometimes on accident with the sheer amount of thinking that I do. And if you remember from my Enneagram videos, I'm an Enneagram type 5, which means my very favorite thing in the whole wide world to do is think. So thinking will attenuate this increase, as will stress. So if you're a thinker and your brain map comes back that you have 66% in alpha performance, and it's mostly because your alpha doesn't increase when you close your eyes, meditation would be a very good tip for you. Just the thing that I do in my regular life, which maybe I wasn't doing so much at this time, is that I try not to work 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours straight. I try to take a break every hour. If I can't do that, I definitely take a break every 2 hours. I get up from my chair, especially during COVID-19 when I'm home. I chop vegetables, which is completely mindless. I'll go for a walk and I won't listen to a podcast. I'll just take a walk and listen to the birds or listen to music because that will help my alpha to go up and my beta thinking speed to go down because they're related. So that's something that you could do in the meantime. The way that home neurofeedback works is it literally teaches your brain to make more alpha through positive feedback when your brain up here making more alpha, and then negative feedback or the taking away of the reward when your brain is not making more alpha during your sessions. And if you remember how neurofeedback works, the more alpha you make during the sessions, the more alpha you'll have there to use in your resources when you go to use in your life. And that's the positive feedback loop. But the finding of my brain map is that my brain needs to learn how to chill out and use more alpha when I close my eyes. Duly noted brain map, and I will attempt to keep doing that in my life through my tips. Okay, so this is another alpha response. Now we are looking in the central region of the brain, moving more up front. And if you jump back, this was at 13% here, and now, oops, I skipped ahead. Now we're at negative 1%. So what that means is as we move more forward in my brain to more of the areas that are used for true cognitive processing and thinking, sensory perception, especially as we move towards the front where we have executive function and planning and organization, now this increase in the central region is even lower. It shows the same thing. It's just more central in the brain, showing that when we get to the middle of the brain, this ability to slow down and be calm is actually even worse. So this would be a major goal for me, is to increase my alpha in the central region of the brain. Moving on to another parameter in alpha that's very much related is alpha recovery. So let me read you the description. In a sequence of eyes open, eyes closed, eyes open, the alpha brainwave will increase from its initial state when closing the eyes and then decrease when reopening them. Alpha recovery is measured as the difference between the initial alpha state and the last. Normally, the difference over the posterior brain region is 25% or less, but the difference may be affected by age or sleep disturbances. So in this alpha recovery mode, my brain is within normal limits in the green zone because there's my brain bulb. So when I'm going from eyes closed to eyes open to eyes closed, my brain indeed is able to go from slower, using more alpha, to using more beta and less alpha, to using more alpha again, able to do that ability. But when my eyes are closed, my alpha could be higher. So hopefully you're with me on that. It's another marker in the posterior region to see if the brain is able to recover from a thinking task. And the difference here in this percentage might be affected by age or sleep disturbances. So if you're up here in the red zone on your brain map, this could also be a marker of head injury or trauma. It would likely be something that would be impacted by age. And if you're not sleeping well, then the brain becomes exhausted because it's not getting into restorative sleep, which can impact functioning in this area. Okay, moving on to peak alpha performance. And this is one I like to talk about because my peak alpha has always been perfectly fast or nice and sharp. And what that gives me, having a peak alpha that's faster, is that I have a sharp ability to be able to think, to be able to concentrate for a long time, to be able to hold a lot of things in memory, to be able to use short-term sequential memory, then being able to integrate that into long-term memory. We use peak alpha, it means sharpness of thinking and memory. So clearly it can be impacted in dementia, in trauma or concussion or traumatic brain injury. Peak alpha performance can be much lower, meaning the brain isn't as sharp in thinking. Some people are just born with a slower peak alpha, and there's studies that show that it's a marker in ADHD, and that it, along with data, as we're going to see, can also impact the ability to concentrate and to be able to focus and not distracted and to be able to remember. So this measures how fast the peak largest alpha brainwave is over the posterior region while the eyes remain closed. Normally peak alpha is 9.5 hertz or more, but it can slow down with age and associated with memory and concentration, like I just told you. And thankfully, my brain bulb is over here at 11 hertz, nice and sharp for calm, focused thinking. Okay, hopefully you're with me. Moving right along to low alpha versus high alpha ratio. Brain bulb in the green, which is good. This is a measure of the ratio between slower alpha and fast alpha brainwaves over the frontal brain region now. So now we're up here at area FZ, right here in the middle of the brain, the area for executive function, planning, organization, impulse control. It's in attention. It's an area that is really used a lot. Socialization. Okay, so what it means is that this ratio of slow to fast is normally 1.5 or less, but is associated with memory and concentration and maybe higher with age or sleep difficulties. So if there's more slow alpha or low alpha, but low alpha is actually slow alpha. So if you have more alpha down in the 9 hertz and less alpha up in the 11 hertz, your marker will be up here, meaning that your ratio of slow to fast is off and your brain's actually performing in too slow of a mode when it comes to alpha. And this can also be marker in depression where your brain has slowed itself down. We definitely see it in dementia. It's scientifically in the research, it's one of the parameters for dementia or for Alzheimer's disease. But we can see it in the brain map, and then we know what to do in which area if we see this area of need in your brain map. Okay, moving right along. In our next video, we're going to begin to explore beta performance. So alpha has to do with mood. It has to do with recovery. And we're going to see more about mood and symmetry in just a minute. But when we get in beta, we're thinking about stress, anxiety, and how your brain is using the proper speed for calm focus. Follow me through to the next video, and I'm going to explain it to you then.